Good morning, everyone. I'm John Fitzpatrick, Community Health Strategist for KC Digital Drive. And this is our monthly meeting of the Health Innovation Team, and welcome to you all. We've got a couple of great presentations this morning to lean into and ultimately discuss. And so you're all very welcome to participate in that. First, let's just kind of go around the table and make sure we know who's here. So, yeah, if you'll just give your name and your organization as an introduction, that would be great. So let's start with Andy.
Yeah, hi, this is Andy Emerson. I'm the CEO and founder of Retrieve Remit, also known as Claimbridge, doing business as Claimbridge. Thanks for having me.
Great. Thank you, Andy. David Varan.
I'm David Varan. I'm a professor at UMKC and a practicing physician at their Lakewood campus and teach in the community and family medicine and do research on the side.
Stephen.
Stephen Green. Steve. Go, Steve.
Great. Anurag.
Good morning. This is Anurag Patel. I am founder CEO of Avada Health, and I also help contribute to the Digital Drive Health Innovation Team.
Thanks, Anurag. Ayan.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm a freshman at Stanford right now, and I'm one of the presenters today, presenting for Novus, which is a company in the substance use disorder space.
Thank you. We're looking forward to it. Britt.
I'm Britt Shanklin. I'm serving as AmeriCorps Vista at KC Digital Drive.
Dan.
Hey, Dan English here. I'm a project coordinator at the University of Kansas School of Nursing.
Dana.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dana Knapp, and I'm president and CEO of ArtsKC, and I am presenting this morning.
Danielle.
Good morning, everyone. Danielle Jones. I'm the Vice President of the Association for Women's Health, Obstetrics, and Neonatal Nurses out of Washington, D.C.
Janelle.
Good morning. My name is Janelle Shuey, and I am at UMKC, and I work with faculty and sponsored research.
Great. Thanks, very much, Janelle. Jeff Vanderhagen.
Good morning, everyone. Jeff, I am here on the basically to network and to learn, but I've been doing digital health on the business development side for the last 10 years.
Jill.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jill Watson, and I do strategy for North Kansas City Hospital. I've been around the community for a while and just checking back in with this group.
Great, thank you. Jim Starset.
Oh, thinking my mute to come off, sorry. Jim Starset, I'm with KC Digital Drive.
Justin.
Hi, everybody. Justin Mutzbauer. I work for Mark McLean, and I'm an insurance broker for healthcare and life science and technology companies.
Nick.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Nick Spolita. I'm a vice president within T-Tech Digital's healthcare and life sciences practice.
Great. Pat McDonald.
Hi, Pat McDonald. I'm operations for the Healthcare Institute for Innovations in Quality.
Pat. Rua.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rua Hasabala, and I'm health equity strategist at the American Academy of Family Physicians. I also serve as this year's president of the Kansas Public Health Association.
Thank you. Spencer.
Hi, my name is Spencer Chestnut. I'm a engineering manager at Catalent Pharma Solutions, and I'm on the board of BioKansas.
Stacy. Stacy Farr, are you with us?
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear. There was some background noise if that was Stacy. So hi all, I'm Stacy Farr. I'm Director of Outcomes Research for St. Luke's and co-director of the Healthcare Institute for Innovations and Quality at UMKC and associate professor in the School of Medicine. So just checking in. Thanks.
Okay. Stan.
I'm Stan Edovich, semi-retired pharmacoepidemiologist who keeps appointments at both UMKC and KU.
Sarah.
Hi, everyone. Sarah Sork, Program Director for Digital Strategy at KU Health System.
Steve Sewell.
I'm Steve Sewell, and I'm a consultant with my working on commercialization of different technologies, most recently in pharmacogenomics, and before that it was canine oncology.
Thanks, Steve. Tia.
Hi, I'm Tia Kennedy. I am the Health Equity Manager at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City.
Great. Ryan.
Ryan Wright here, Ambassador for Blockchain and Healthcare Today and the CEO of Envelope.
Great. Chris Kelly.
Good morning, Chris Kelly. I'm the Health Information Manager for Johnson County Mental Health.
Great. Let me see. Is there anybody that I've missed?
Yeah, this is Doug O'Hulan. I work, I'm on the KU School of Nursing Advisory Board, and I work on AI projects related to healthcare.
Great. Anyone else? Apologies, Doug. Okay, well, let us start off here. I'd like first to introduce Dana Knapp, the President and CEO of ArtsKC. Dana, even though this is not specifically a digital health conversation, it's very innovative work in health that we thought deserved a lot of highlight, especially since Dana has also collaborated with us on things about integrating art and culture into the technology ecosystems. And so we welcome her today to present her project with Johns Hopkins. So Dana, if you'd like to kick off, you're very welcome.
Absolutely. And I'm not sure if I can share screen, but I'd love to do so if possible.
Yes.
So bear with me. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Title page?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see if I'm able to. Okay. Well, good morning. And John, thank you for having me. We at ArtsKC really focus our work around 3 pillars of service in our region. We are a metropolitan arts council, and so our agency, not unlike others in metropolitan or cities such as Kansas City, we are an agency that is in part an extension of state art agencies and the NEA, federal government. So we really focus on ecosystem building and supporting those that work and practice within what we call the arts, culture, and heritage ecosystem. And that's individual artists, it's arts and culture organizations, it's social service and human service organizations that deploy and utilize the arts to meet their mission. One thing that really sets ArtsKC apart from most agencies like ourselves is that we really aim to work on the leading edge of our sector. We are really trying to expand and grow the good work that everyone does within our sector to really buoy other industries and other businesses. We focus our work around access. So we believe very deeply that everyone deserves to participate in and benefit from the transformative power of the art. We also support the arts. So we focus on investment through our own grant making, but we also incite others to invest in the arts. And last but not least, and this is where a lot of our work focuses, is in advocacy and awareness. So we really spend a lot of time across the civic landscape, really helping others understand the inherent value of the arts, but also the tangential value of artistic and creative activity. And that's what really brings me here today. During the pandemic, it became even more evident that individuals really clung to creative and artistic activities in order to cope and frankly survive the isolation that we were all forced to participate in. And then also just to connect with one another, albeit perhaps digitally. We saw a really heightened desire amongst the population to engage with one another across creative and artistic events and activity. During this time period, there became increased interest at University of Florida, Johns Hopkins, increased interest preceding the pandemic, but it really became more visible during the pandemic of the intersection of arts and mental health, arts and health, and really the impact that arts and creative activity have on our neurological being, our physiological being. So whether it be an activity or literally the aesthetics of the space and the place that you're in, it is and can have a positive and lasting impact. In the arts, whether you're a producer, a performer, or a creator, we have long, if not intuitively, but literally understood the benefits. And so the field of neuroarts is really that space where we're creating evidence and really aiming to host research that allows us to not only qualitatively understand, but quantitatively understand that the arts and creative activity can benefit us all. So during the pandemic, we really became committed to digging into this topic in a significant way for the benefit of our community. We saw day in, day out, people really wanting to engage, but those that are also benefiting from the activity itself. So I became familiar with an activity at Johns Hopkins. Susan Magsamen leads the International Art and Mind Lab. And she has, along with her colleague, Ivy Ross, they have been really looking into this field for some time, pre-pandemic, 2017, 2018. And in 2022, we made a commitment within our organization to really elevate this topic. We are not scientists. Many of us are either practicing artists or art supporters and administrators. And so we knew that we needed to find a partner in this that could help us elevate and grow the scientific side of this. And so I reached out to Johns Hopkins, and it was just, I think, luck in some ways. They had been really building a program called the NeuroArts Blueprint that allowed this topic to be effectively socialized across the country and frankly, even globally. And they were actually just beginning to talk about finding pilot communities. And so they enlisted us, and we eagerly agreed to be one of the initial pilot communities for the NeuroArts Blueprint. So in May of 2023, we launched the Kansas City Community NeuroArts Coalition. And Susan and her colleagues came to Kansas City. We brought together healthcare, mental health practitioners, funders, artists that have been long working in this space, frankly. And we really established or began to establish some shared language, some shared priorities. We also committed to elevating work that was in fact already going on in this space within our region. And so it was really, frankly, in 2023 was the launch of, in the beginning of this endeavor for the Kansas City community. And we were, in fact, the very first pilot community. We were quickly followed by Palm Health in Palm Springs, Florida. And then we were also quickly followed by the Tisch Foundation. They hosted a coalition and still do in New York City. So the NeuroArts Blueprint, if you dig into that, it really has a list of goals, but the intent there is for communities to really find goals and initiatives that resonate with their landscape. And so for us, we chose, let's see, Palm Health. I think I said Palm Springs, Palm Health, forgive me. So wait, let me go back. So really the three goals that we committed to as we launched this was to create a community. So we knew that we already had individuals working in this space, both in the healthcare industry, but also in the arts and culture community. And so we wanted very much to identify and elevate those that were working in this space. And then we also wanted to begin building a body of evidence. And you can imagine in the arts community, we tend to be more qualitative. We tend to feel the benefit. And so we really had to work hard to bring those that live in the research field, in the healthcare and mental health practitioner field to the table. And so summer of 2023, we had a very robust group of professionals sitting around the table, researchers from KU Med, from University Health, Wyandotte Community Health, individuals from Jackson County Health Fund, sitting around the table. And we really began building not only shared goals, but also shared language. And one thing that resonated with this group was the notion of a logic model, really digging in and qualifying and quantifying what it was we really wanted to achieve over time. And this is just a glimpse of the logic model we created. It was really interesting in conversations. There was a lot of storming and norming if you do community engagement. That's a phrase we use around scientific method versus program method or logic models. And in the program world, we often use the logic model. And in the scientific world, it is the scientific method. And so what was really interesting about this model you're looking at is it was kind of our common ground that we could come together and create that shared language. So it was an exciting process. We had individuals at either end of the spectrum, and we kind of expected those that were deeply rooted in science to really carry that banner and make sure that we answered those questions and satisfied the need of understanding. And then at the other end, the spectrum, those that are creators and more intuitive, we wanted them to kind of remain resolute in that space so that we could build that bridge across that continuum. So again, our coalition priorities were around building community, identifying activity, whether it be a dance, an organization that builds youth self-confidence through dance, to the deployment of arts in mental health to overcome trauma. Where they had intake surveys and output surveys. So we really worked across that spectrum. And then research. I'll tell you, one thing that we have really struggled with is not only we have arrived at one, but early on, really identifying common ground to identify research projects, 1, 2, even 3 research projects. But really, one thing we're challenged with is finding the funding to do so. In-kind work, yes, but really digging in within the community to identify that project and see that to fruition. We've identified one most recently. So funding in this space has been a challenge. I think we are living in between arts as entertainment and understanding or frankly lack of embracing the notion of art as healing or as a method of a valid method of medical or mental health practice. So community asset mapping, we have 2 groups that we convene regularly, advisory group and full coalition. We were really excited about the interest that was immediately generated amongst the continuum of knowing, that is intuitive artists all the way up to researchers at KU Med. So one thing that we have landed on, and you saw it in our logic model, was the notion of prescribing. There is a fairly robust school of thought right now around social prescribing, and that is utilizing and recommending arts activity and arts engagement to underpin and complement mental health services, or frankly, even medical services. So one project, this kind of lists a few of the things that we're digging into, but one initiative that we're talking about right now with university health, behavioral health, is how can we, working with their mental health practitioners, deploy arts activities and deploy I guess participation in the arts, if you will, between the initial contact and the reaching out of a patient and that gap, during that gap of being able to actually meet with them. We spent 2 days with a group of mental health practitioners from across the Kansas City area. And they were asked what are the top things they need in order to better cope with the caseload and the shortage of practitioners in the Kansas City area. And one of their biggest concerns was that gap between their initial contact and the wait time that it took to actually get to a time to meet and assess their client. And we talked at length, we shared with them what we're doing, and we talked at length about potentially introducing social prescribing during that time period. Of course, there was hesitation and kind of a lack of proof, if you will. So what we are talking about right now is perhaps deploying that social prescribing to the practitioners themselves as an opportunity to evaluate and assess what impact that activity and those opportunities would have on their well-being. One initiative that ArtsKC is launching right now is what we call the Drop. It's an access ticket program, and it reduces barriers to participation, not just for mental health practitioners, but for the overall public. And it really targets certain zip codes and those that seek service and support from human service and social service organizations. And we not only are deploying this in order to expand the audiences of the arts and culture organizations in Kansas City, but we know that the tangential benefit that the arts provide to our community, connectedness, education outcomes, reduction of crime. It actually has the presence of arts in communities actually has an impact on housing values and community reinvestment. So mental health is not the only thing that has benefited from the arts. So most recently, we've been talking with the Berkeley School, and they are launching and are piloting an opportunity to, in essence, be certified, if you will, as it relates to deploying the arts for mental health and wellness. And so we have just started to talk with them how we might be a secondary pilot community through a healthcare or mental health practitioner, a school, perhaps. We would support that opportunity to become educated and certified through the Berkeley School. We're excited about this opportunity in part because we are really the host and the convener on this topic. And so bringing, I guess, harvesting opportunity, program experience from elsewhere and bringing it to Kansas City and making it available, if you will, to those that are working in this space, whether it be healthcare or in the arts, is precisely what we're wanting to do. Well, I think I've begun to cover all of this. I think from our standpoint at ArtsKC, we believe that this is the beginning. And we're excited about the prospect of socializing this and bringing more supporters and more engagement across Kansas City. Right now, I think we're hovering around about 40 different organizations and or individuals that are really actively on a monthly basis coming together. It's higher ed, it's healthcare organizations, it's individual artists, it's arts and culture organizations that are working in this space. We have some innovation groups, some businesses that are interested in this. And so as was mentioned at the very beginning, healthcare and the intersection of art and health is really just the beginning. We believe what creative and artistic activity bring to the conversation can be deployed in a variety of ways.
Thanks so much, Dana. That was really great. Tell me a little bit more about what research is actually going on. Are there activities underway to check outcomes?
To what? I'm sorry.
To discover outcomes.
Yes. So we are monitoring research that's already going on. A couple examples. You may know about Rebecca Lepping. She works at KU Med, and she has long been studying the impact of music on health and mental health. And so that's one project, one initiative that we are elevating and understanding. Another example that's in the arts community is you may be familiar with Alvin Ailey. I'm sure Pat is. So Tyrone has been conducting summer schools in dance for a very long time. And Alvin Ailey is very astute about tracking outcomes. They have collected considerable amounts of data based on surveys and evaluations, but really they were struggling with identifying a researcher that could analyze and distill those outcomes to lead to decision making around the program. And so I think most recently, Tyrone and his crew have connected with researchers at KU Med in order to see that through. The social prescribing concept that I mentioned, we are at early stages, but we are making sure that as we launch that amongst the mental health practitioners that we have an evaluation strategy in place so that we can really use those practitioners as examples. And so we're excited about the space and the evolution of that. And there are many more. There are activities at UMKC Conservatory. Our Dean Krappel, who works amongst Kemper Museum, and actually I think it is at UMKC Medical School. So there's a lot of activity that's going on. Some is rooted in scientific research, but others, again, is more intuitive and probably you would call less scientific, more based on evaluation and outcomes. You know, one thing we learned through the NeuroArts Blueprint and our work with Susan is that there is a continuum of knowing. And we in the arts community really value the more intuitive side. So she really wants everyone to understand, including ourselves, that continuum of knowing is valid all along the way. So if you feel it, we need to acknowledge that all the way to scientific method and scientific research. That all has ways of knowing, have a seat at the table, and we all gain and learn from those.
That's great. So you would foresee that, say, from our digital health perspective, that this would be part of a prescription that would be online for the doctor to order as the doctor sees social drivers of health being affected. They would be able to prescribe this directly from, say, their electronic health record.
Well, that would be the ultimate.
Mm-hmm.
For us, creating that body of evidence that could be deployed in that way, John, would be the ultimate.
Thank you. Other questions? I see that there has been a request for your LinkedIn profile. If you could put that in the chat, Dana, that would be nice. Ryan, you had a couple of comments. Would you like to say something? Did we lose you, Ryan? Okay.
No questions?
No questions?
Wow.
So what's been kind of the highlight of the things that you've seen happen during this process, Dana?
Well, I think, I've been in this field since actively and professionally since 1989. And what I will tell you is that over the course of the last, let's say, decade, there is an increasing understanding of the power of creative and artistic activity. We tend to compartmentalize artists and arts activity as an amenity or, frankly, almost frivolous in a way. And we always kind of default to the ticket to the symphony. Well, that is valid. It is the decisions we make day in, day out that resonate with us on a deeply personal way that Susan and the International Art and Mind Lab want to elevate and make, I guess, more valid as something that impacts our mental health and well-being. And some of the things that we talk about are not only buying the ticket to the symphony and consuming music and art, but it's also the aesthetic. The clothes we wear, the color on the walls. It is that aesthetic environment and that ecosystem, whether it's auditory, whether it's visual, whether it's tactile, that over the last, say, 5 to 10 years, that people are beginning to really understand have a considerable impact on our lives. And so for me, it really puts our sector, those who produce all of those things day in, day out, for a profession, I think it makes us increasingly incumbent to be front and center in the conversations around social determinants of health, around community well-being, around problem solving, if you will, of complex community challenges. And so I think the excitement and, frankly, the validation of the work that we do day in, day out, and what a large and pervasive positive impact we can make, that has been a really remarkable opportunity, in my view, and probably one of the greatest things that has occurred in the last 5 to 7 years.
That's great. Congratulations on this program, Dana. This really is outstanding and certainly is making a contribution to our community as you connect with so many of these health systems and strong players in the community. Pulling together the kind of advisory boards that you've brought has been really very impressive. So hopefully this will continue on with all this strength.
I have no doubt it will. We have probably month over month have more individuals want to join in the conversation. I have just added my email to the chat. Again, we have most of the major healthcare providers sitting at the table. We have most of those in higher ed sitting at the table, at least representatives of, and would welcome anyone else that has an interest to just maybe participate in one of our advisory groups or our coalition groups to see if it's of interest, and most importantly, if you could make a contribution to the conversation. We have just begun. We understand this is a long game, but we also know that it is imperative to deploy all tools at our all tools in order to really address some of the challenges that we're facing in our society and most importantly in our community.
Thanks so much, Dana. We really appreciate it. So let's go on to Ayan Parikh, who has graciously consented to participate with us this morning, very early for him out at Stanford. So we certainly appreciate that. But Ayan was recently invited to be CEO of a startup based in Wichita, where he is from. And it has some very interesting prospects. And so we'd like to hear more about that. Ayan, if you want to say more about your own background and some of the awards and things that you've done as well, and then let us know about Novus.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you so much, John. Yeah, it's definitely an early morning here. I think this is the earliest I've woken up in college since I've came here. So definitely early, but I'm happy to be here with you guys to kind of share a bit about Novus. As John kind of mentioned, I'm a first year here. I'm really interested in kind of exploring the intersection of healthcare with technology, administration, entrepreneurship. A lot of the kind of projects and startups that I was a part of in high school were kind of exploring this space. And I did some research as well, some clinical research. And I think a lot of that experience is now kind of connecting now for my project in leading Novus. So let me quickly share my screen. Awesome. You guys can see that well? Perfect. So yeah, obviously we all know that addiction is a pretty big problem amongst a wide array of people. 48.6 million Americans struggle with addiction. And out of those 48.6 million individuals, 9 out of 10 never even receive any form of treatment. So obviously there's a problem, but another problem comes into form when we see that, there's a problem and there's no solution to that problem. Why is it that only 10% of people who are addicted are even getting solved for that problem? And the second problem is that even after those 10% of individuals go into treatment, 85% of them relapse within the first 2 to 3 months of recovery. So when you kind of do the numbers, only 1.5% of the 48.6 million Americans who struggle with addiction even end up being in sustained sobriety. So 98.5% of individuals who are addicted do not have a solid way of maintaining that sustained sobriety that is needed to maintain effective, efficient, and kind of productive lifestyle. So why exactly is that? Why is it that only 1.5% of individuals receive treatment or receive effective treatment? Well, there are 3 key problems in treatment. First of all is the before. So long-term recovery benefits cannot compete with the short-term pull of addiction. What does that mean? Well, if an individual is facing substance use disorder, it's really hard for them to say that, look, I'm going to push down my addiction and instead I'm going to go to recovery and in 12 months, I might be sober. That compared to the fact that the prospect of just using a substance in the next, minute or 2 minutes or the next day, that ends up being a lot stronger. And because of that lack of short-term incentive, it's really hard for people to engage with recovery. Second of all is the during recovery phase. So most programs take a one-size-fits-all approach rather than offering a personalized care. Now, obviously, we have very different neural circuitry. Each of our reasons for addiction and what kind of incubates that incubation is different for everyone. And therefore, a one-size-fits-all approach often fails. And third of all is the after. Although recovery is ongoing, recovery is ongoing, but treatment ends. It doesn't extend into post-recovery life. And most treatment facilities do not have post-recovery engagement for individuals that have completed their programs. So what does that mean? That means that once a person is put into the real world after that treatment, 85% of the time they end up failing. However, we all know that recovery is possible. For people that even don't go to traditional treatment, we know people that have recovered from substance use disorder. So how exactly do they do this then? If they're not doing it through traditional treatment, what is allowing them to maintain that sustained sobriety? Well, most often it's through this concept called recovery capital. Recovery capital is the external and internal resources that are needed for sustained sobriety. And there are three key areas that this recovery capital can exist in. First is social, second is personal, and third is cultural. Social is kind of the recovery capital that is around us, our immediate environment. What allows us to, or how can people in recovery leverage their environment to help gain the resources that are needed for sobriety? Second is personal. These are the internal motivating factors that help an individual for sustained sobriety. And third is cultural. This might be what we consider the universe, right? What we kind of, our beliefs, our spirituality, kind of the general broader environment that helps us maintain sustained sobriety. And that's what the central mission of Novus is. Our main question, our main problem is not trying to understand how can we ensure sustained sobriety, but rather how do we help build recovery capital? How do we help individuals gain the internal and external resources that are needed for recovery? And how exactly do we do that? Well, we curate, track, and reward actions that kind of help maintain this recovery capital. Now, what does that allow users to do? It helps them take control of their wellness in real time. It's a lot more immediate. It's in the now rather than 8, 9, 10 months in the future. So what exactly does this workflow look like? What is the user experience for a certain individual? Well, first of all, users will choose a list, choose activities to complete based on a curated list of activities that are kind of presented to them. So I'll complete an intake form. I'll say that I'm interested in X, Y, Z. Based on that, I'll be suggested a list of activities to complete, and I can choose what I want to do. From there, I'll kind of learn more about what it is that I'm doing. So for example, if I'm going to the gym, maybe I'll read a synopsis of an article, a 5 to 7 minute kind of summary, and watch a video about it. Maybe I'm learning about journaling or recovery. Why do all of these actually work for recovery capital? Then I'll explore locations. Maybe if I'm going to the gym, maybe if I'm going to a support group, maybe I'm going to a recovery event, I can explore all these potential events and kind of activities to do using our explore feature. From there, once I engage and complete activities, I'll earn tokens. For example, if I go to the gym for an hour and a half, I'll receive 32.5 tokens. If I journal, I might receive a certain number of tokens. I keep receiving these tokens, and throughout that process, I'll log my journey. Every day, I'll reflect on what I did today. How did I feel? What did I do? What were my ups? What were my downs? What did that process look like? And that's, again, a very, very easy process to ensure or to encourage user engagement. And then from there, I'll share my growth, not only with my provider, not only with my family, but also with peers on the Novus app. One of our key metrics is the recovery score or the recovery capital index. It's a score out of 100 that indicates how well I've built my internal and external resources to make sustained sobriety possible. And an important thing to note here is that this is not a direct B2C play. Rather, as I kind of mentioned, regular updates will be sent to families and facilities, meaning that this isn't really a standalone product, but rather it'll be working in parallel, in conjunction with traditional treatment. And of course, with all these tokens that I've developed, I can then cash out my earnings by buying products on our in-house marketplace. So whether it's real products, whether it's Visa gift cards, whether it's coupons, we offer a wide array and wide arrangement of products for users to get for free after they complete activities on our app. So why does Novus work? What are the kind of science-backed principles that make this an effective solution? Well, I'll kind of briefly talk about 4 key principles. First of all is this idea of contingency management. Contingency management is the idea of creating habit transformation by offering rewards. Now, this is an FDA-approved strategy. It actually just got FDA approved this year. And it might seem a bit dubious at first. Like, well, how can you say that, I'm going to offer rewards to individuals and then, eventually people will just create habit transformation? However, when you look at the research papers, when you look at the data, it shows that when you provide these initial short-term incentives, over time, it starts to become part of an individual's identity, and that ultimately yields to long-term habit transformation. Second is gamification. So we use game-like elements to leverage positive reinforcement. And of course, that promotes and increases engagement of individuals in recovery. Third is data-driven insights. So real-time data that we're collecting from these users is sent to families and providers. And that, of course, can then be used to garner trust, to garner more specific deliverables and specific, decisions for individuals in recovery. It helps with decision making overall. And third is personalized care, using advanced algorithms and kind of monitoring user engagement and using natural language processing to understand what individuals are saying on their journaling method or their journaling features. We create personalized challenges, which ensure that users receive tailored support and tailored recovery activities for their recovery journey. Now, one of our other key, selling features is the dopamine pain pleasure cycle. So when we kind of look at what causes addiction, right, it's essentially our desire for these dopamine spikes. On this graph that you're seeing, there's a kind of a red line on the bottom. So we have a baseline, and then we engage with some dopamine-inducing activity. Maybe it's eating ice cream. That'll lead to a bit of a lower kind of dopamine spike. Or maybe it's consuming some form of a drug. That'll lead to a very high dopamine spike. So now, if we have a dopamine spike, our natural homeostatic response in our bodies is to thereby push down that dopamine spike. And what that leads to is a very long period of low dopamine levels. And in that period, we face a lot of demotivation. We don't feel like doing anything. We feel like we're, at the pits of, at the lows and lows of our lives. And in order to get out of that, we seek another dopamine spike. And then we live in this in this cycle of up, down, where it leads to a lot of demotivation. However, what we can do is we can kind of reverse that process by inducing short-term pain through things such as exercise or an ice bath or meditation. Sure, it might feel bad in that moment, but it leads to an overall increased dopamine level, which then leads to increased motivation and an increased desire to engage with things such as recovery. So we have a pretty we have a pretty advanced team that's helping us lead this project. I've kind of put this slide shows our main directors and leaders of this project. However, in addition to these individuals, we also have a wide array of software developers who are range from high schoolers and college students all the way to senior developers who are maybe advising a bit, helping us develop this from a technical perspective, as well as a wide array of technical advisors in the CS space as well as in the scientific space as well. So we kind of look at our current stage of our company, what we're at right now, and what we're looking to do in the next couple of months and years. Right now, what we're doing is we're trying to test this idea with treatment facilities. So we've developed our beta, we're really close to developing our beta. It'll be available to download pretty soon within the next couple of weeks. And then from there, what we want to do is we want to start shipping this, start sending this to treatment facilities. And essentially saying that, look, we're not going to charge you anything right now. We just really want data. We want to see what this platform can do, what's working, what's not working, and getting a better sense of what users are engaging with. So I guess one of our requests right now is to get connected with treatment facilities or other, organizations who are in the recovery space to help make Novus's beta a better vision and a better beta, a better platform, a better service. And that'll help us essentially establish proof of concept and then kind of grow from there. Now, using that data that we'll collect from this, from this beta testing, we'll obviously develop and improve and iterate our beta. So whether that's, creating better algorithms, creating better safeguards, adding in different technologies, biowearables, and we have a pretty wide array of things. But what we want to do is improve our beta using the data that we receive from these, from our testing. And of course, yeah, the kind of other points mentioned similar things. And I guess our other request is we want experts in the field. We have a good advisory board right now, but we're always looking for individuals who are experienced in the space and who can offer their insights and contribute their, I guess, their knowledge to improving a modern and, I guess, novel idea like this in the substance use recovery space. So yeah, with that being said, I'd love to answer some questions. Obviously, I'd love to share this pitch deck. We have a white paper that we've written that discusses the scientific back principles of this. I'd love to share those as well. And some contact information if you'd love to reach out, or if you'd like to reach out. I'd love to speak more individually, and of course, hear your guys' thoughts and answer any questions that you guys might have right now.
Great, Ion. Thank you very much. One of the things that caught my eye just as you were finishing there was the potential for using wearables. What do you foresee in that space?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think one concern that many people have had right now is that sure, you can prove that an individual went to a gym, right? You can prove that they, based on their location, you can track that, or maybe you can prove that maybe they sent a picture of doing meditation. But how do you actually check the quality of that activity, right? Is there any specific, like, I guess, effective way that you can use a biowearable to ensure that someone has been sober for X amount of time? These questions all become answerable when we use biowearables. So maybe it's connecting with the Apple Watches, maybe it's using something like Whoop. There's a lot of different existing biowearables that we can connect with, and that many companies have done in the past too, that can help track things such as sobriety, the quality of work, how well was your exercise completed. All these things become a lot more possible and a lot more effective to track when we use biowearables. And we don't want to do too much too soon. So, in one of our future beta iterations, we will start using things such as biowearables.
I see. How do you support the earning of tokens? Where does that supply come from?
As far as the funding for it?
Yes.
Yeah, so what we do is right now we have a subscription-based model. So a treatment facility will sponsor an individual based on a monthly basis. I guess when we make this public to market, right now it's obviously just in beta testing. Or a family member, I guess a family will support an individual, say like after recovery ends, then for a period of 10 months, a family member will say, I'm willing to sponsor my son or my spouse, whatever it might be, for $20 per month. That's kind of what the play is right now. And then a bit later down, we'll start working with EAPs, with employers, as well as hopefully with insurance companies. We kind of want to start those conversations a bit later down once we have a better proof of concept. And then after all that, we might venture into the B2C space where we're selling directly to consumers. However, that's a lot more further down the line.
I see. And then do we have other questions?
Yeah, that's a great presentation. This is Andy. Everybody's been touched by abuse, in their lives. I'm curious to hear your background. I was faced with a situation just last night where I learned from a really good friend that another friend that we went to high school with 30 years ago is really battling it right now in an awful way. And we're trying to, think about how we reach out and how we help this individual. A lot of times that's rejected, and it's not easy, right? And so kind of curious to see what your background is. I mean, what's driven you to go down this path? This is fantastic. But and then also, what is there out there for somebody like that has unfortunately seen it through family and friends, but now yet another one is really struggling with it. What does the program allow for to help somebody like that's not the addict, but somebody that's trying to create value or help for that person?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. I'm sorry to hear about that. I think it's heartbreaking to hear incidents like that. But yeah, I think my first exposure maybe to addiction was with my grandpa. It's a kind of funny story. My grandpa, whenever he came from, he's from India, and he would come come to live with us over the summers, and he'd always bring this special candy. It was a mango candy, and I really loved the candy, but you know, I could only get it once a day. So I'll ask him like, you know, why can't you give me more? Why I want two, I want three, I want four, right? And he would say, look, if you eat too much candy, your teeth will become like mine. And his teeth were, they were very few, very yellow. They didn't look very good. So when I was young, I would believe that like eating a lot of sugar can do that to your teeth. But you know, when I got older, I was like, that's not really true. So I asked him, you know, why do your teeth look like that? And he chewed tobacco for 20, 25 years of his life. And that was like obviously in my mind, tobacco, it was so stigmatized. So like my parents had told me, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. And I was, you know, really shocked to hear that. So I was like, do you still chew tobacco? And he was like, no, you know, with help from my family, kind of this idea of recovery capital, right? My external resources and that kind of build my internal will to stop addiction. So I guess that was my first exposure to addiction. Obviously, like being from Wichita, the drug usage is a really big problem there. So, you know, from friends to, you know, just hearing about different stories, I think addiction has been a pretty prominent part of my life and my upbringing, at least as far as the context of it goes. So I think that's kind of me and my co-founder, you know, seeing this problem, seeing that there's a lot of opportunity for digital health and personalized care, you know, in this space. That kind of what drove us to create and build out this idea. As far as to the second part of your question, I think as far as someone like you for Novus, if we're talking about in correlation to Novus, I think you can definitely sign up for our beta testing. We were willing to kind of send this out to individual users if you know, if it helps us kind of build this out and understand what the needs of our consumers are. So I'd love to kind of share that beta with you, and you know, ship that out. And as far as like more from a general perspective, I think it's really hard to be in that space where you see someone who's facing addiction and you almost feel helpless. Like, what exactly do I do in this situation? I think there's a couple of things to do, like, you know, encouraging them to reach out to treatment facilities, providing them solutions, kind of connecting them with case managers. I think those are all potential routes to go through. And of course, if it's with Novus, we'd love to help with that as well.
Fantastic. Congratulations on everything.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Steve Sewell, did you
Hi,
have
my
a
name is
question?
Steve Sewell,
Go ahead,
and
please.
congratulations on some fascinating work and pre-work on getting this to the stage you have. A couple things. One, as I watch my grandchildren in electronics, I can see where that one form of addiction could overcome another form of addiction. So I think you got onto something with the electronics and the gamification. Second thing is from a technology and innovation standpoint, have you looked at the literature on from a pharmacogenomics standpoint, kind of in the field anyway, of predispositions to addiction? So from a genetic standpoint, being able to identify that predisposition so that family members and others that are associated, you can identify some of those individuals and help as well. It's not solid research, but there are indications that that some genes lead to that, or can have be correlated with that predisposition.
Yeah, that's a great point. We've definitely looked into that a bit, and part of our kind of initial intake form helps to understand some of those questions about, like, you know, what is your family history? What is kind of your like, what are you at increased risk for addiction based on this? We do have some of that. However, we definitely want to explore that space a bit more in future beta iterations. I think it might be a bit too early to delve too much into that space right now, especially given that we're such a new idea. But I think 100% we want to look more into that, um, and yeah, kind of leverage, because one of our key selling features, as I mentioned in the pitch, is that, you know, we make this as personalized as possible. And one part of addiction is, you know, that genetic makeup, right? Like some people, as you said, are just genetically more inclined to be addicted, and that plays a role in recovery, or it should play a role in recovery, and it's not right now. So we definitely want to do more research on that and see how we can incorporate this idea of I guess genetic predisposition for addiction as part of our recovery process, and figure out how can we help overcome a lot of these ingrained barriers using different features.
Well, I think the idea that you could identify someone who should not be exposed to opiates on the front end say you use alternative forms of pain treatment. You read over and over again about individuals who got sucked into a situation because of that injury, because of some kind of pain situation. So anyway, just a thought, something to explore in the future.
100%. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We'll definitely look into that.
Great point.
Any other questions for Ion? Ion, I guess I have one last one is, so your co-founder is still in Wichita, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And your team is a bit distributed after that point?
Yeah, our team is pretty distributed. We have a couple of team members. I need to update the team slide, but we have a couple of our chief scientific officer and our financial advisor. They're two Stanford students. And then yeah, we have our team of developers is pretty dispersed. They're all remote, so we have two people from Wichita, and the remaining like 6 or 7 are all across the nation. Our lead developer is from California as well, like 45 minutes away from where I am. And again, our advisors are all pretty dispersed as well. Actually 3 in Florida, and the rest are pretty much everywhere.
Okay. Well, we thank you for getting up so early to join us. It was really nice to understand the basis of Novus and its prospects. We wish you all the best in that. And I know that you have asked for assistance of those who might consider it amongst this group. And so I leave that with the group, and I thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Again, yeah, I'll put my email again in the chat. And my LinkedIn is just my name. So if you guys would like to reach out, or if you guys have any connections with treatment facilities, with potential advisors, just even people in the space, I think it'd be incredibly helpful for us to reach out to them. So if you could guys if you could send me an email or a message on LinkedIn, kind of sharing that connection, I think that'd be really nice for us to have, because any kind of meeting that we can get in this space is helpful for us, because everyone knows everyone. So I think it would be incredibly helpful for us to get connected through a great network like you. So thank you guys so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. And with that, we'll close for this month. For those who are still with us, please look forward to our next announcement. We have 2 coming up, one for a combined meeting for November and December to kind of accommodate the holidays. We'll be meeting on December 4th for our monthly meeting. And then on December 9th, we're having another Digital Health Innovation Forum. Some of you may have already seen that posted on LinkedIn or X. But you'll be receiving an announcement from me as well. So, what we have Ion, we have one more question actually that just came in. Do you have concerns about HIPAA? Are you HIPAA compliant, or do you have plans to become so?
Yeah, that's a really valid question. So yeah, we are HIPAA compliant, because like all the data that we store, it's all like anonymous. We never store names, rather it's all like decentralized using like anonymized data, and obviously we don't share that with anyone. So HIPAA compliance, like in this space, it's a bit like in the gray area as far as like as far as like what does HIPAA compliant even mean. So we're definitely exploring that. Where we're as I mentioned before, we're trying to build strong safeguards, ensure that we have complete privacy, and that we're not breaching any concerns in that space. So again, we're exploring this space, but yeah, we like based on what we know about HIPAA compliance in the space, we are kind of checking those boxes right now.
Sounds great. Thanks so much.
Yep.
Okay, goodbye everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Great presentations today.
Thank you so much.